Hey everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So in today's AFK journey video, we're going to talk about a strategy which I've been using for Supreme Arena. So I shared this strategy in my members only video, but after even more testing and more defenses, this team is proven to be a really broken team in the current season of Supreme Arena. So that is many thanks due to the factional talent for the Mauler class, which I'll talk about later, right, together with the team, and also discuss the team building idea, why I use specific units and the potential substitutes that you guys can try for your very own account. Okay, so starting off with the talent itself, the Mauler Talent, I'll say, is actually one of the more game-changing talents in the game to make Mauler as a class or the PvP Maulers a lot better this season, because it solves 3 of the pain points for the melee Maulers, especially units like Brutus, Shakir, Seth, Lumon. They're all actually decent PvP characters, but they all have a few issues, right, which is actually covered by this factional talent. So the main issue number 1 is the positioning problem, because these characters, they're all melee by nature, so they are affected by positioning, they are affected by taunts, they are affected by units which cause them to run out of course, to run towards a wrong position, to cause them to be vulnerable to be sniped off, or vulnerable or to doing less damage. So this ability right here teleports the prime carrier to the nearest area with the most enemies when a better start, which effectively solves that very first problem I talked about, right? Because they just go into the area with a lot of enemy, and then on top of that they gain a shield and they immediately deal AoE damage to all adjacent enemies, and they continue to do AoE damage, which optimizes their positioning. So this not only solves the positioning issue, it also solves the lack of AoE from the Mauler class, because a lot of the strong Mauler characters, they are all single target by nature. Yes, we do have Elsa, but Elsa is actually even better in a control team compared to your standard Maulers. And yes, we do have Reese, but Reese as a unit doesn't synergize that well with the Mauler team in general. So it's hard to make Reese OP with Maulers. In fact, Reese is actually more OP with Dunleer, which is worthy of another video, which if you guys are interested, let me know, that I'll talk about it in another video, right? Let me know down in the comment section below. So Reese is actually a lot more powerful as a standalone carry and as a carry where you build the team around, rather than with the Maulers in general. So these Maulers in PvP side, I think they are lacking a lot in the AoE and the positioning. So this talent tower right here solves 2 of the problem. On top of that, right, this talent tower, once you unlock the second tier ability, allows the prime carrier to be unaffected during the first 8 seconds of a battle. Unaffected is broken. Okay, this prevents all the control unit, all your irons, all your iron armors, your Arden, your Elsa from going through, and it is actually really game changing, specifically for some of the Mauler characters which I'm using later. So this also gives them additional life drain to help them like sustain a little bit better, on top of just being, I'll say, like tanky units to be sent in the first place. So generally the best way to use the Mauler's talent buff is actually to send in tankier Mauler characters, or just tankier characters in general that can draw a lot of hit away from the team or sustain long enough to do what they want to do, lasting throughout the battle. So that's how you use the talent tile. And if we take a look at the stat bonus, right, we have a whole bunch of physical and magical defense, decent HP, and energy on hit, which allows your unit to transform faster if you're using Shakir, or spam their skills if they are on the prime carrier tile when they are in the front line. Okay, so the 2 units which I'm sending in with my team, right, this is my team right here. So we're going to showcase the team in my usual formation first. So this is the team that I'm running for this Mauler strategy which I'm talking about. So I'm using both Brutus as well as Shakir as the prime carrier. So Shakir is actually a really good PvP character already, and this talent tower just makes him even better, because Shakir has immunity, but the thing is, if you can control him and slow him down before he transforms, he's still decently vulnerable. So that invuln at the start of battle actually makes him permanently invuln throughout the battle, like from the start before he transforms, and then once he transforms, he just becomes immune to control. And then Brutus is an amazing target for the talent tower as well, because if you send Brutus into the area with the most enemies, Brutus is able to taunt them, right, to debuff and reduce their physical defense to synergize with Shakir, as well as all the melee characters or the physical attack characters that you want to combo with him. And on top of that, because his charm skill right here emits a shockwave every 5 seconds to reduce haste by 20 for enemies within 1 tile, if this Brutus jumps into like 4 or 5 enemies and he releases a shockwave, that's a pretty massive debuff, right? Slowing 20 haste for 3 or 4 enemies is nothing to be scoffed at, so that's why Brutus is one of the better carriers. And also the ability of Brutus to survive with Indomitable is also really good to just protect Shakir or protect the other unit that you're trying to send in, and also, right, to allow him to become a carry. So Brutus in this team is not only a tank, he's also a carry, he's also a debuffer, and he's also I'll say like sponge to draw damage away from the team. So we also use Shakir together with Brutus because Shakir is just really good for PvP, and Shakir, once he transforms, becomes a really good semi-carry. And because we have the prime carrier ability on Shakir, Shakir has decent AoE damage as well. So that's why we're using Shakir. And then for Reyna, so the reason why I'm running Reyna in this team specifically is because Reyna in this season is super duper good for Supreme Arena because it forces your enemy to either one, not use the talent tile on the opposite end. So let's say if my enemy is like maybe a level 10 talent tile, the talent tile will still spawn on the opposite side where Reyna is facing right now. So it either forces them to not use the tile, or it forces them to swap Shakir in to get Shakir with that heal, as well as the 25% damage reduction, which makes Shakir an even more powerful unit, right, as the frontliner that does damage and also has AoE to his kit with the prime talent ability. So that's the rationale for Reyna and the rationale for the positioning. And then we have Coco, generally good Mauler character to activate the tile with massive damage reduction as well as shielding from the skills itself. And lastly, I use Kalita. So I think for Coco, for Brutus and Shakir, if you don't have Coco, which I doubt so because Coco is probably one of the most like recommended Mauler A class that you should have went for, so Coco shouldn't be the major issue. If you don't actually go for Brutus, you can use I'll say any other Mauler character to proc the ability. I'll say melee in general. I think Anthendra is fine as well. Anthendra is like a downgraded version with lesser damage against certain matchups, but Anthendra also has this ability to go in and then draw attention away and then taunt the enemy with an ultimate and then protect your team, right? So for Shakir's slot, I think Shakir is pretty irreplaceable because Shakir as a unit is very unique in the game, and Shakir is the unique factor for the team, which I think gels everything together as well. So Shakir's Lupin Aura will benefit all the melee unit running forward, which is mainly Brutus as well as Skalita. And for Skalita's case, I think Skalita is replaceable. You can use another hyper carry, for example like Lily May, or you can use another melee carry, or you can obviously also use Torrent, which is really good for Supreme Arena and also just Arena in general, and also benefits from the Lupin Aura from Shakir. So those are the few substitutes you can use. But the reason why I'm using Skalita together with Coco is to provide for that shielding for the team. So the talent tile gives you life drain, which allows a unit to life drain a little bit with their own damage output, and then right, we have shielding and damage reduction coming out from Coco and Skalita all together, which ensures the sustain of this team goes through. So one thing that this team is actually okay against is actually Dunlier teams in general, because we're not relying on heal. So the anti-heal from Dunlier not gonna stop us from healing. We are shielding, right? And anti-ultimate, yes, I think it affects the team a little bit in terms of the ultimate side if you can't use the ultimate, but then right, because we can still use our other skills. For example, Brutus can still use the taunt, can still draw attention away, and Coco is still able to heal, and I think the whole team will still work even without their ultimate. And because the units that we are sending in is going to draw attention away from the back line, I think we'll buy enough time for Dunlier's ultimate to go down before we are able to cast ours on our side. So I do have a few replays with Dunlier, which I'm able to defend successfully. I'll showcase later. So that's the general idea of this team, right? So for Reyna's case, if you don't have Reyna, you can obviously use other Mauler characters which are decent to get the factional talent. For example, right, you can use let's say if you don't have Brutus, for example, you can use Mikola Coco, and then you use another good melee unit that you want to send on the front line, maybe like Tamasia. Tamasia is also really good to be sent in with this ability, because Tamasia will be running around, jumping, and then cutting people with the AoE X. That's one unit that's really good. Obviously, you can also send in our dear Danny. So Danny is actually really insane with this ability, because she's able to draw attention to her and also root them and then just cut them down with the AoE ability. So that is one thing that you guys can consider as well. And also I'll say like any good melee units that have certain tank ability to them is okay, because if you send a really frail ranger or a really frail rogue character, they might get bursted down before you get the third ability. So once you get the immune ability, I'll definitely do more testing with all the, I'll say like frailer melee characters or frailer characters in general, to see whether or not this is actually game changing enough for you to feel the more frail characters in the prime carrier slot for this skill. So that is something that I'll try. But right now I think the best unit to send in are the tankier ones, and I think this is another variant that you guys can use. But I'll say if you have Reina, just use Reina, because Reina just allows you to get an advantage over the factional talent slot. And specifically for this team, because we're running a full Mauler, we are able to get quite a bit of stats of the bonus from full Mauler, as well as the 2 Celestial Hypogean in the team itself. Okay, so without further ado, let's showcase some runs I had with this team. First of all, on the defense, so this guy over here, pretty strong, right? We have the D&D team. So without further ado, let's go through the replay. Okay. So right here, Brutus gets sent in right in the middle. So the Smokey managed to channel and buff the Dino right here. But because we instantaneously taunted the Smokey when we go in, we are able to buy the attention away from Reina. See, Reina survived. Coco got snapped down by Dino, but it's fine because my 2 frontliners are really tanky. So the Reina managed to take out my Shakir with the ultimate itself, but you can see that my Brutus over here has the resonating buff. So I'm running the resonating buff, but I'm also trying out different artifacts with this team, and I think generally most artifact works with this team. Specifically, resonating buff is good because it buffs up Brutus for him to be a very powerful carry that is able to spam his spin itself. You can see from the damage. Okay, so let's run through the replay and talk about some things that you guys can observe. So you guys can see that when the 2 Maulers go in, the AoE damage actually cuts the enemies 2 times, quickly lowering their HP, as you guys can see right here. So 1 cut, 2 cut, and then the Dun is down, 1 cut, 2 cut, Smokey down, 1 cut, 2 cut, and Laika is down. So this AoE X, right? It might not sound a lot, but when you have 2 units just cutting the enemies down, there's no saying that you can't stack the 2 skills together. It is actually quite a lot of damage. And because my frontliners are so tanky, even if Dino is able to burst them down, they're able to survive. And this buys enough time for Skalita to descend to become the late game carry. So I think for Skalita's slot, I think it's a little bit hard to replace. In a sense, Skalita is both a shielder, a utility character, a control, as well as a late gamer, as well as just the late game powerhouse for this team, in case both Shakir and Brutus is not enough. So for Skalita's case, if you don't have Skalita, if you want like more late game power, then use a late game carry, for example like Lily May. OD is okay, but you kind of need to sort of position OD carefully, because this team doesn't have that many ways to protect OD specifically. So that's one thing to consider. Okay, so we have another team. So this guy use I'll say like not so good team, but his idea is actually using Iron Arden as well as Almas to try to control me, but I think he didn't get the memo. If you have the talent over here, you are unaffected for the first 8 seconds of battle. So we just jump in, cut him, 1 cut, 2 cut, another time 1 cut, 2 cut, pop, 1 die, 2 die, and then once Shakir starts transforming, he has no way of winning, because Shakir is pretty much control immune with damage reduction, with the ability to heal up, and also right the double AoE ability from Brutus and Shakir. Okay, so did quite a few battles, did a lot of successful defenses last week. So let's take a look at how this team fares against certain matchups. Okay, so this is the more complete control team. So the guy tried to use Reina to sort of swap like my Shakir right here to protect the Arden, right? So we managed to sort of break even on the swap, but it's fine. So the 2 melee unit rushes in the front line, cannot be controlled, and then once Shakir starts to transform, Brutus starts to spin in the middle of everyone, you just see the whole team melting right there. So you guys can see for yourself the power of the AoE from the Talent Tower, as well as Brutus his own AoE, right? Brutus with his own ultimate is also pretty decent in terms of dealing AoE damage. So that's why I think Brutus is one of the biggest winner from this Talent Tower, because just putting him in the middle of 5 units is like the best way to use him in a sense, because he can survive for sure, and then he's able to be of a certain impact for sure. Okay, so right here, Skylar comes in as a late game powerhouse. So this is another replay. So let's take a look at another one, right? I think let's try a different team. Yeah, so this is a more sustained heavy team. So this team also has decent late game power. So it's against Lily May with Damien and Hewin and Scarlita. So I think his idea is trying to use the 2 carries to storm me out, and then right, Scarlita comes down to try to slam me. But you guys will see the power of this team. So we are trying to cut him down with our AoE, but apparently not enough damage because he has a lot of heal from both Hewin as well as Damien. But it's fine because our Coco ultimate got through, our Shakira's ultimate got through, so we get that bonus haze buff on all the melee characters. And as we come down, as you guys can see, my Scarlita actually has the energy more charge up, and because we have the haze from Shakira, we actually use our hammer a little bit faster, right? Slam down the 2 target. Didn't manage to send anyone out, but it's fine because we managed to kill the Torrent, and then we can go on to the support. So we are melting down on the Hewin. Okay, melt down the Hewin, so the support line starts to melt, and then the carry starts to melt as well. And then once the Skylar comes back, she's no match for 4 characters right here. Okay, so this is how the team works. So throughout the whole battle, my whole team just had enough sustain, except for Brutus, to just hold through Scarlita's slam as well. So this team definitely has enough sustain. And on top of just defending, I think this team also has pretty good offenses. So I do use this team a lot, but I'm not attacking the top 2 guys because they're just way too strong for me in terms of unit tiers. But right here, I'm going to showcase one attack that I did on Tinker, which is one of my guildies. Okay, we send in the unit. For this one, I actually use Mikola in the place of Reina because there's no good targets for me to swap in the first place. So I did rather not use Reina and just get Mikola with the Insta Ultimate because there's an energy towel. So with this, as you guys can see, we got the buff. Although we didn't hold onto the arena, but it's fine. We have the heals. We have the aura from Mikola. Although she lost it because we didn't hold the arena, so the ultimate is not permanent, but that haze buff for the team allows my frontliners to get the buff and get their engine going and then start to wipe the enemies out. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this team. So this Mauler Talent, definitely more to explore. Very, very powerful for this season in the Supreme Arena side. So if you love PvP, you love Supreme Arena, do give this Mauler Talent a try. It is really, really good so far. And that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys want to see with regards to the Supreme Arena side. I will be experimenting more with this talent buff towel to see what I can do out of it, to see whether or not I can create something unique, some unique combos. But right now, I think the best units to send in are Shakira and Brutus, as well as all the melee tanky Mauler characters that you guys might have in your own collection. Okay, thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more. See you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.